Welcome to Coffee with Clover. Thanks for joining us today. In this first segment, we're talking money, and here to tell us all about that is financial planner Jackie Porter. Jackie, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. It's really great to be here.
Okay, so it's crazy sometimes. It's either you do not budget correctly or you're not making enough money. Money is a problem. Can you break it down for us? How can we solve this?
Well, I think we have to, first of all, embrace talking about money more. Money isn't something we're spending a lot of time talking about. We don't learn about it in schools. So for many people, it's actually easier to talk about their psychological issues than it is to talk about money. And it's unfortunate because the more we talk about money, the more we have money conversations with each other, the more confident we'll become about it.
Definitely. Okay, so talk money, you become familiar, you can learn from other people.
Yeah.
How can we go about budgeting strict so we're not falling apart when it comes on to taking care of our debt?
So the money conversation is the first thing. So becoming familiar with money, picking up resources. But the other part of it in terms of budgeting is something that people struggle with because often we don't necessarily want to know what we're doing with our money. I've had many conversations with men and women who say they're terrified to see where their money is going. So, and it's really alluring these days to not know, because if we don't have money, we can use our credit cards to make up the difference that our income does. We don't have in our income.
Who's the worst among the two, the men or the women?
I don't know if it's actually, if there's any kind of gender parity there. I think it might be equal. I think women and men are often equally irresponsible, can be equally irresponsible with money, though women worry about it more, I think.
What are the challenges they're facing why we're having this issue?
Well, just to quickly go back around budgeting. So if you want to become better at budgeting, write down your expenses, write down how much income you get every 2 weeks. Start looking at where your money is going. Maybe look at the last 3 months of your bank statements to see where your money is going, or live on cash. Or I often encourage people, because your fixed expenses don't change. So write down your fixed expenses, and for places that, by fixed expenses I mean your rent, mortgage, heat, hydro, those kinds of things. Those expenses don't change. It's our discretionary that tend to change. So if you write down where you're spending your discretionary money, how often are you going to Starbucks, buying books at the bookstore, buying drinks out with friends, lunches. If you start taking note of that, or even better, use cash, you'll have a really good sense of where your money is going.
That's an evaluation that seems to be a must. How often should one visit that? Like every 6 months or every 3 months?
I think it depends on how disciplined you are. I would at least try to, for 3 to 6 months, write everything down and stay on top of where your money is going, just so you get a sense. And then the other really big tip I would give people is pay yourself first. So put that 10%, or if you're bold, 20% away for yourself, because why work if at the end of the day you can't keep some of it for yourself? Why give your money to all of your bill payers, to consumer products you may never remember that you bought?
Okay, seeing that you're the expert, tell us, how does Jackie do it?
Well, I've been doing this for a long time, and like everybody's situation is different, but I truly believe in building multiple streams of income. So I love to collect different streams of income. That's my passion. So I believe in having investment income, rental income, income from the sale of my book, royalty income, business income, income from my job. So I'm encouraging people to consider, do they want to be the only person bringing income in forever? If not, start thinking about investing and building income streams.
Maybe that's why it's so
That's
stressful.
how you become resilient. That's how you become financially resilient.
Definitely.
If your income isn't the only one you're relying on.
But then I'm thinking maybe that's why it's so stressful, because just one stream you have. But when you have several streams, if this one's not coming through, another one's coming through, it takes away the stress.
That's it, especially as a single person, building streams of income. People who have homes, that's one of the reasons things like these places where you can rent out, and I can't remember the name of it now, but you can basically rent out your basement apartment for rental income. That's another stream of income other than your income.
So are you saying...
So having a rental income is a good idea. Building investment income for the future, because we don't know how long we're going to live.
Do you think it's easier for the single person to do that as opposed to a married couple?
Well, research says it's actually harder for the single person because we only have one income to rely on.
Well,
right?
yes. And if you're single, it's just yourself.
That's
right.
right. When you're a part of a couple, you actually have two income streams, right? There's a multiple stream of income there, right? You have two income streams. When you're just yourself, all you have is yourself. If you get sick, if you lose your job, where does income come from? That's why, you know, as a financial planner, I recommend people have some savings, have a fortress, have some money set aside for the future that something unexpected happens, you have something to rely on.
How bad
That's the first step, building a foundation, because you can't start building income streams until you have a foundation for the what ifs. Having insurance, if people are relying on you, having money, having some kind of plan that will pay to make sure they have an income stream.
You're so passionate about money and how it works and the income streams. Why don't you share with us your story? Maybe someone listening can
relate. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I was raised by a single mom, as lots of young children out there are, and my mother was the kind of mother who said, never rely on a man, always have your own. And I was very, very grateful for that advice because, unfortunately, my single mom passed away when I was just in my teens. I was only 16 at the time when she passed away. But because she had been drilling in me from the time I was 6 or 7, that I needed to be able to be financially independent, be self-sufficient. She was always doing entrepreneurial things, and as a result of that, I was always doing entrepreneurial things. The child labor laws were really different. So you
learned from that. So it was embedded in you from a younger age.
A younger age. Right? So, you know, here I am, 16, going on 17, suddenly on my own, suddenly single, and having to figure out doing very adult things like keeping a roof over my head and putting food on the table. And having really, the great thing about my mom is I had very good work ethic. I knew how to work hard. But it was only later on in life, after graduating from university and getting my first full-time job, and then being transitioned, losing my first full-time job because the company got downsized, that I had, as a result, had a small package from that company, and somebody told me that I should talk to a financial planner about it. That was the first time I'd actually ever heard there was such a profession.
So you invested.
And I thought, well, it was the first time I actually heard this financial planner said to me, let me talk to you about how money can work hard. I'd never heard the concept of money working hard before. As an immigrant, especially descendants of an immigrant, my mother was an immigrant to this country, I knew how to work hard. I never heard that there was such a thing that money could work hard. And it changed really the trajectory of my life. I thought to myself, I'm sure there are many people like me who could use advice about money, because there were so many times in my life I had wished that I had this individual to talk to.
Definitely.
And so I really used that opportunity to become educated about money for myself, then getting my financial licenses, and then really from there taking that knowledge to develop my own 7-figure net worth. And so that I started with nothing, and I share that story so that people know that you don't have to come from money to build a 7-figure net worth. You just have to have the decision, really be motivated to learn, and I think there's lots of resources out there, so take it upon yourself to learn as much as you can about money. Work with an advisor. I've provided a resource. This is a resource I wrote. It's a book I wrote called Single by Choice or Chance, The Smart Woman's Guide to Living Longer Better, and it's encouraging women in particular, I'm a little bit biased as a woman, to help them figure out how they can make those important decisions, life decisions, not just about money, because women are whole people, and they want us to talk. As a woman, I want to talk about all the other issues facing women, because we have families, because we care for others, because we want to also know if we'll have enough for retirement, but we also want to know what our life means and how to create meaning out of our lives. So the book tries to address the whole woman,
so it
not
tells
just the money side.
Everything. Definitely.
So that's the book. It's called Single by Choice or Chance. And it was my attempt to educate women, to provide a resource for women to learn more about money.
So seeing the different faults in money, your clients come to you. How do you get them back on track, those who have gone the wrong path?
You know what? I find out where they are in their life and what their priorities are. Because depending on what stage you are in life, if you're starting out, if you're, building a family, if you're a student getting out of debt, if you're building a family, if you're worrying about you're in your 40s, you might have become divorced or become a widow. Your circumstances are different. If you're close thinking, I'm a few years away from retirement, what do I need to do? Your priorities are really different depending
That's the hardest,
on what
though.
life stage
Few
you
years
are.
away from retirement. How do you recover?
It's the hardest. You have to make a lot of choices. I'm all about explaining to people what their choices are. I'm the first person to say it's not always about one specific path, because the closer you are away from retirement, the closer you are to retirement, the less options you have. The farther away you are from retirement, the more options you have. So we just talk about what your options are, and we have a really just detailed money conversation about your options.
What are some of the success stories you've had?
I love talking to women, and they say, first of all, they get it. Because when we talk about money, when we have these money conversations, and we're talking about debt, and we're talking about taxes, and how they can improve their cash flow without working harder, that's always nice. And then, I talk about these different financial concepts, and I'm fairly repetitive when I talk to a client. I'll try to say things in the simplest way that I can. And what gives me a lot of satisfaction is women and men saying, I get it. I understand what you're meaning when you say this particular concept will help me. I understand how that works now. Or another really great success story is hearing from people that they feel like they can sleep better because I've helped them understand their finances, I help them understand retirement, how their circumstances could be better, so they're sleeping better.
Okay.
Or they're retiring earlier than they possibly imagined.
Wonderful. How can one get in touch with you to help with their money problems?
Well, first of all, they can get in touch with me by email. My email address is askjackie@cartwm.com. So I'll repeat that and I'll speak slower. Ask, ASKJACKIE @CARTEWM.com. So Ask Jackie. You can email me. You can check out my website. You can also go to my website and download the Getting Real with Money intake questionnaire, so we can help you figure out what your issues are.
Great stuff. Thank you, Jackie. Thanks for coming on.
You're very
and
welcome.
sharing this valuable information with us. I hope our viewers can take something away from what you've said.
Wonderful. Well, I'm wishing people financial prosperity for 2018.
Definitely. Don't go away. We'll be right back. We have more coming up on Coffee with Clover. Welcome back to Coffee with Clover. Please help me welcome my next guest, Vidya Gopaul. Vidya, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm so happy to be in your show.
I'm happy to have you on to talk about your book, The Race of Time.
Yes.
Now, in this very book, you predicted some things years ago and it has come to pass. Tell us about it.
Yes. Well, it all started when I was in the undergraduate course in my University of Toronto. And I was taking a course of an undergraduate with graduate students. And it was dealing with the ethics of medicine. And in that one, they was dealing with all types of issues, ethical issues, specifically in the artificial insemination or conceiving babies, such as in vitro fertilization, test tube babies, and what have you. And while we're dealing with the issues, I said to them, to my professor, that if we continue with this project of conceiving babies, through artificial means, and if there's no fail-safe program, chances are there will be at times that one brother may end up marrying his own sister.
Wow, and you've seen that happening today.
Yes, you're right.
There are 3 folds to this book. What are those 3 folds? Can you, for the sake of our viewers, can you just break it down?
Yes, 3 folds are that first one is I always believe that we as human nature, we try to outdo the process of nature. For example, this one, artificial insemination.
And that's
or
the first fold.
first fold.
Okay.
And because of that, if we don't have a fail-safe, there's a very grave consequences.
Wow.
Yeah. As I mentioned in my novel, is that one brother ended up marrying his own sister.
What's the second?
Second one is once we take the initiative of using these methods or any other method, try to overdo the process of nature, make sure we have a fail-safe program. Why? Because we have to learn from mistake and never do it again.
Have you said anything to anyone prior to writing this book?
No, that was all in my mind.
All in your mind, you went ahead and you wrote it, and today everything's coming to pass.
Yes, yes.
Wow. What's the core message of the book, though?
The core message of the book is this. First of all, in any romantic relationship, and I emphasize any romantic relationship, I would advise, please find your birth parents.
Okay.
And just to elaborate, there's a culture out there who practices to find the birth parents, and they emphasize on finding the parents who have given birth to the children before they marry.
Especially those who have been adopted.
Exactly. Now, the second part message is that while I was writing this novel, I dawned to myself that same process can apply to adoption. And my advice to people who are adopting the children is to give all the information up front and tell them who the birth parents are, and for the adoptive parents to have the knowledge where the parents are.
Definitely. So you've traveled to 31 countries.
Yes.
And still counting.
Is it counting?
Okay, and through your travels and to these different countries, have you seen the same things happening?
This issue of, one brother getting married to another sister is still a taboo. It's still in the background. Because when I was writing this book, nobody had the courage and conviction to write this book because it was very sensitive. I even sent a lot of manuscripts to the world publishers, and they rejected because it was not a mainstream stories.
Do you think they saw truth in your book?
Nowadays, it is. Every other time that you see reading the papers, I have seen and read, and I have kept the clips of those news. One brother is marrying other sister.
Yeah, we've heard of stories brothers meeting sister, getting married, or before marriage they realize we're related.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And all this happening because of that fail-safe program.
Wow. How do you think people can safeguard themselves?
I would say, like I said, be upfront. Because the parents knows this is not my child, it's somebody else's child. So please find the birth parents.
I was so glued to the book I couldn't put it down. But one thing I noticed as I go through, the son, once he set out to find his dad, for everyone that he meets trying to solve the problem, he was having coffee. So it's actually a good thing to have coffee, because he was having coffee and doing the investigation.
Yeah. How appropriate was your program? Coffee with Clover.
Clover, definitely. So then he eventually found his dad.
He did. But he found it at the last minute and then realized that, gee, I'm marrying my own sister.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Wow. So you've given us the first and second fold. What's the third fold to this
Third
book?
fold, I always say it, human nature versus fate. Fate, I always describe it as something is predestined in our lives, and you cannot change it. And that's why I kept the name of my novel, Race the Time. A lot of my viewers said, why didn't you use the word race against the time? I didn't. We as a human nature, we always want to go faster than the time. And that's why we stumble. Definitely. And that's the reason I said race the time. And my main character was racing the time to find his father.
And he finally did.
He found it, but the race won over.
And yeah, it was too late.
Too
late. So where can this book be found? Where can we get this book to buy?
Yes, this book can be found in places. One, eBay.com, Amazon.com, and I have my own website called vidyagopal.com.
That's vidyagopal.com.
Yeah.
Very good book. I was so glued to the book, couldn't put it down. Yeah. I would encourage everyone to get their own copy.
Yes.
And
I would encourage people to buy it, and it's very, very interesting, very intertwined stories. It's not straightforward.
Because it's a reality.
It is reality.
It is happening today.
It is happening today.
Okay. So thank you, Vidya. Thank you for coming on to sharing your novel with us.
Thank you.
I hope everyone will try to grab a copy. It's a very good book. The Race of Time by Vidya Gopaul. Don't go away. When we come back, we'll be talking with Wayne Williams. You're watching Coffee with Clover. Welcome back to Coffee with Clover. Please help me welcome my next guest, Wayne Williams, fitness coach. Wayne, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so you have been a fitness coach for years.
Yes.
Your doctor wrote you off after you found out that you had asthma.
Yes.
How did you beat the odds?
Well, I found that nutrition was the number one thing that was holding me back from achieving my goals. I used to eat a lot of inflammatory foods. I used to eat a lot of, meat, chicken, things like that. But I found that when I switched to non-inflammatory foods, I didn't have any more asthma. I didn't have, a lot of the ailments like allergies and things like that, which helped me to teach others how to get in shape and how to take care of their bodies a lot
Was
better.
it a struggle switching? Because sometimes when you're stuck to the old way, it's hard to go to what's healthy.
Yeah, initially, yes. Initially, it was pretty tough. But, over anything, when done over time, you can really get over anything if you really stick to it, have the discipline to do it, and the consistency. And that's the number one key.
And speaking of discipline, you surrounded yourself with healthy stuff, right? And you
Yeah.
spoke to people that were in the industry,
Yeah.
and that led you on a path where now you have your own fitness club.
Yeah,
Tell us
that's
about
right. That's
it's,
right.
Buff Boy.
Yes, Buffboy Fitness. It was started in 2014. Prior to starting my company, I was a janitor at a Toronto hospital, and I didn't like doing that anymore. So what I did was I started to change the way that I thought, and by changing the way that you think, if you think more positively, then you can change your life.
Definitely,
really.
most definitely. Build on your
Yeah.
positive thoughts.
That's right. That's right. And so what I did was I quit the job at the hospital that I used to clean, and I went to school. Then I learned how to personally train people, and it was tough in the beginning. But then ultimately, what happened was I started to get a higher base of clientele, higher echelon of people.
And
Those
here you are today.
here I am. Right?
Definitely. Were there any struggles to stay on path?
Oh, there was a whole lot.
wow.
A whole lot. Financial, there was, relationship-wise, there was some struggles, but ultimately everything worked out in the end. And now I have my own radio show.
Definitely. Yes. Tell us about your radio show.
Oh, my radio show is on a station called GBKM FM.
And what do you talk about?
Lifestyle, improving your mind, your body, and your soul. So, the body works with the mind, and the body also works with the soul. So all these three things work synergistically together to help to elevate who you are as a human being.
Do you have folks calling in to speak on your program, or you just feed them with information?
Well, we have callers that call in. We have followers online. And overall, I think that, we're just starting out.
Okay.
We're just starting out, but our base is growing.
That's great.
And we're
that's
getting
great.
new people every week.
Oh, you said you're getting new people, your clientele grew. Who are the people you train?
I don't know if I can mention by name, but I have a few politicians under my belt, celebrities in terms of news media people, a few sports celebrities. So things have been on the up and up.
So now you can be classified as a celebrity trainer.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes.
Because that's what you are. When it comes down to nutrition, how do you advise your clients?
Well, I show them how to eat in terms of not only what to eat, but when to eat. Now, I introduced a method called intermittent fasting. Now, intermittent fasting, it doesn't work for everybody. It's not for everybody, but for the majority of my clients, it works pretty well. And
Do they stick to it?
Yes, it's just a way of eating. It's like a lifestyle choice. Now, in society nowadays, everybody eats for social events,
reasons.
when you're bored,
Yes.
But if you slow it down, give your stomach a break, give it a chance to digest the food, use it for energy and to get rid of it, then you can start to utilize and reap the benefits from it.
So in teaching about nutrition, is that included in the course that you're offering to your clients?
Yes, definitely. Because part of, getting in shape is, eating. Actually, 80% of your weight loss goals comes from the food that you eat.
Okay, definitely. So Wayne, I just want to thank you for coming on.
Thank you
I
for
hope
having me.
others will get in touch with you. How can we get in touch with you?
Oh, you can hit me up on my website. It's buffboy.ca.
Definitely.
You can follow me on my Instagram, Buffboy Fitness.
It was great having you. Thanks
thank
for
you.
coming on.
Thank
And that's
you.
it for Coffee with Clover today. Thanks for joining. I'll see you next time.